Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Why didn't Shanks, the most stylish redhead on the seas, ever get the One Piece, even though he was at Laugh Tale with Roger? In chapter 966, we see Shanks as an apprentice on the Oro Jackson, laughing with the Pirate King. But now, as a Yonko with a crew that makes admirals tremble, chapter 1079, he seems to avoid the treasure. With fresh spoilers up to September 2025 in the Elbaf arc, where Shanks shines in epic flashbacks, chapter 1154, I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, we know the story starts with Shanks as a young pirate on Roger's ship in chapter 966, sailing to Laugh Tale and discovering the secret of the One Piece. He saw the treasure, laughed with Roger, but never went back to get it. Even as a Yonko with plenty of power, in chapter 1079, he knocks out Kid with an ultimate hockey strike that makes mountains shake. So why did the guy who cuts the sky with a sword and has a crew as strong as an army not go after the greatest prize of the seas? The theory suggests that Shanks knows something that stops him, a promise, a burden, or a destiny bigger than the One Piece itself. In chapter 0, Roger delivers his legacy to the world in Town, and Shanks, still a boy, cries. Maybe he swore to Roger to wait for the chosen one, someone like Luffy, who carries the Hito no Mi model Nika. Chapter 1044. Fun to imagine Shanks with his sly smile thinking, this treasure isn't for me, but for the stretchy kid who stole my fruit and my hat. The first clue comes from Shanks' past as a Figureland, revealed in chapter 1158, where Garling Figureland, a celestial dragon, appears linked to the family. Shanks, found in a chest in God Valley, chapter 1096, may have connections with the world government, explaining his meetings with the elders in chapter 907. He knows about the Void Century, about Emu, chapter 1086, and maybe about the One Piece as a weapon or secret that only the true Joy Boy can activate. In chapter 434, Shanks meets Whitebeard and warns about Blackbeard, showing that his focus is on balancing the world, not dominating it. Getting the One Piece could destabilize everything, drawing Emu's wrath or triggering the chaos Vegapunk predicts in chapter 1115 with the world sinking. Shanks, with his insane hockey, chapter 1079, could easily reach Laugh Tale, but chooses not to. Maybe because the treasure requires the right D, like Luffy, who awakens as Joy Boy in chapter 1044. Another layer is the promise to Roger. In chapter 968, Roger says he is waiting for someone who will arrive in 20 years, Luffy, the heir of his will. Shanks, who gave the straw hat to Luffy in chapter 1, knew this since he was a child. He saw the One Piece, but in chapter 580, post-Marineford, he protects Roger's legacy, not the treasure. Fun, right? Shanks looking at the horizon, holding sake. Luffy, you little brat, this treasure is waiting for you, but don't make me wait too long, okay? His crew, with Ben Beckman and Yasopp, chapter 579, is strong enough to face any Yonko, but Shanks acts as a guardian, not a hunter. In chapter 1154 in Elbaf, flashbacks show Shanks negotiating with giants, maybe preparing the ground for Luffy, not himself. Shanks' role as a balancer is crucial. In chapter 907, he meets the elders in Marijoa, talking about a certain pirate, probably Luffy or Blackbeard. As a Figureland, chapter 1158, he may have ties to the government, but his loyalty is to the future, not Emu. Taking the One Piece could strengthen the government, which fears the Void Century secret. Chapter 1115, Shanks knows that the treasure may be a weapon or truth as suggested in chapter 967, needs Joy Boy to change the world, not any Yonko. In chapter 1044, Luffy's awakening confirms that he is the chosen one, and Shanks, who indirectly gave the Nika fruit to Luffy, chapter 1, may have orchestrated everything from the start. The theory also explores the possibility of a personal burden. In chapter 957, Sengoku mentions that Shanks and Buggy were Roger's apprentices, but only Buggy talks about seeking the One Piece. Chapter 1082. Shanks avoids the topic, perhaps due to a promise or trauma. In chapter 1096, God Valley shows Shanks as a baby, saved by Roger, and if he carries a secret like protecting the world from Emu, fun to imagine Shanks laughing, One Piece? Nah, I prefer sake and watching Luffy mess everything up. In chapter 1154, he appears in Elbaf, helping giants, suggesting his plan is to support Luffy, not steal the treasure. Finally, Shanks may know that the One Piece is not just gold, but something that requires sacrifice. In chapter 1114, Vegapunk talks about ancient weapons that could sink the world. The One Piece could be one of these, as suggested in chapter 967, where Roger laughs at the treasure. Shanks, with his observation hockey, chapter 1079, may have seen that taking it early would destroy the balance. He waits for Luffy, the guy who laughs like Roger, chapter 1046, to activate the right treasure. Shanks' decision not to take the One Piece is not just about waiting for Luffy, it's about protecting a balance he knows the world needs until the right moment. In chapter 434, when he meets Whitebeard to warn about Blackbeard, Shanks shows that his priority is keeping the seas stable, not chasing glory. He has known since Laugh Tale in chapter 966 that the One Piece is more than a treasure, maybe a weapon, a truth, or a mechanism that could turn the world upside down, as Vegapunk suggests in chapter 1114, talking about ancient weapons that could sink continents. Shanks, with his Figureland past revealed in chapter 1158, may have learned in God Valley, where he was found as a baby in chapter 1096, that the One Piece is dangerous in the wrong hands. Imagine the redhead with his scar pulsing thinking, if I grab this thing, Imu will go all out, and the world becomes a celestial dragon barbecue. His meeting with the elders in chapter 907, talking about a certain pirate, shows that he plays global chess, maybe manipulating the government to give Luffy time. He doesn't want the One Piece because he knows only Joy Boy. With the Hito no Mi, model Nika, activated in chapter 1044, can use the treasure to free the world, not destroy it. The connection with Blackbeard is where things get even hotter. In chapter 580, Shanks appears at Marineford to stop the war, but also to send a message to Teach, who is rising like a dark shadow. Blackbeard, with his Yami no Mi and the Gura no Mi stolen from Whitebeard in chapter 576, is the opposite of Luffy, a D, who seeks power, not freedom. Shanks, who lost his arm to save Luffy in chapter 1, had already known the danger of Teach, since they were apprentices together on Roger's ship, as suggested in chapter 957. In chapter 1157, Blackbeard captures Garp at Hachinosu, showing that he's hunting big pieces for his plan, maybe even the One Piece itself. Shanks didn't take the treasure because he knows Teach is also in the race, and he'd rather block the villain than hand the prize on a silver platter. Fun to imagine Shanks holding sake, looking at the horizon. Teach, you big bearded guy, the One Piece isn't for you, and I'll make sure Luffy gets there first. In chapter 1079, when Shanks destroys Kid with a single strike, he sends a warning to everyone. He's not joking, but he's also not rushing to Laugh Tale. He's holding the line for Luffy, like an older brother clearing the way before the big party. Elbaf, where the manga is on fire in chapter 1154, is the perfect stage for Shanks to reveal everything. The Giants, historical allies of the Straw Hats since chapter 116, respect strength and honor, and Shanks, with his crew camped there, seems to be negotiating something big. In chapter 1154, flashbacks show Shanks interacting with Dory and Brogy, maybe to ensure Elbaf supports Luffy in the final war against Imu or Blackbeard. The theory paints Shanks as a strategist who knows the One Piece requires an army, hence his friendship with Luffy's Grand Fleet, which grows in chapter 800 to 5,640 pirates. He didn't take the treasure because alone, even with Supreme Haki, he can't activate what Roger left behind. In chapter 968, Roger says the right moment is coming, and Shanks, who saw this, may be in Elbaf to pass the baton to Luffy, maybe giving clues about the road poneglyphs, chapter 818, or even the exact location of a Laugh Tale. Fun, right? Shanks with a sly grin, patting Luffy on the back. Kid, I saw the One Piece, but it's all yours. Just don't lose my hat on the way. The connection with the Void Century is another piece of the puzzle. In chapter 1115, Vegapunk reveals that the world is sinking because of ancient weapons from the Void Century. And in chapter 1086, Imu appears as the guardian of this secret, alive for 800 years. Shanks, as a Figureland, may know that the One Piece is the key to reversing this, maybe a weapon like Luton, chapter 218, or a truth that topples the government, as suggested in chapter 395 by Clover. In chapter 966, Roger laughs at the One Piece but doesn't take it. Shanks, who was there, may have understood that the treasure only works with Joy Boy, who brings freedom, not destruction. He didn't take it because it would be useless without Luffy's Nika, awakened in chapter 1044. Shanks, with his keen observation haki, as seen in chapter 1079, may have seen that Luffy is the one, and his giving of the hat in chapter 1 was a vote of confidence in the future. Imagine the redhead toasting with sake. Roger, old man, you were right. The rubber boy is going to make the world laugh. Shanks may also be avoiding the One Piece for a deeper personal reason. In chapter 1096, God Valley shows him as a baby saved by Roger, but his connection to the Figureland suggests he carries a weight, maybe a vow to never use the treasure for himself. In chapter 907, his meeting with the elders indicates that he plays both sides, keeping the government on a leash while protecting Luffy. He doesn't want the One Piece because his role is to be the guardian, not the king. In chapter 1158, Garling Figureland, a celestial dragon, appears as a possible relative, which may mean Shanks knows secrets that tie him to a greater duty. Fun to imagine Shanks scratching his scar. One Piece sounds cool, but I'd rather watch Luffy while sipping a drink. His crew, with monsters like Ben Beckman, chapter 579, is strong enough to take Laugh Tale, but Shanks chooses the role of mentor, like Rayleigh did with Luffy in chapter 507. But what do you think about this? Comment below. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.